I am living in the moonlight, and I live my life this way. Now I'm older, I can see nothing more to say.
Because I'm allowed to decide for myself what I think of these kinds of people, it might also be my duty to point out to you these short-sighted people. Laughable, an organization that could have prevented a disaster like with the Hutus and the Tutsis, and should have seen and prevented a disaster like that in Bosnia earlier. With all modern means of communication, no one could ensure that this could not and should not escalate. The shame of the concentration camps brought live on screen again made me shudder at the thought that since the last major war, nothing had been learned. I see these images on television too, but I'm starting to believe that even this is not all real anymore. I'm losing track between science fiction and reality. To what extent have all those war images been manipulated to give us the idea that it's real, and as a result we become fearful and increasingly alienated from each other, transforming into a society of only consuming masses, the target audience. Beautiful word, target audience. The newest target audience is now homosexual men. You see more and more commercials with men showing that cooking is a delight, and these are often those feel-good ads with nice, quick, friendly, smiling men, the target audience. It's wonderful to see that this kind of manipulative advertising appears on TV, and no one realizes what a gigantic marketing idea is behind it. The marketing that increasingly ensures that we are categorized into target audiences. In other words, they might as well bring back the Jewish stars because no, you don't fall into the target audience. Classified as we are, we don't realize how the system works. The more information they have about you, the more suitable you are to be categorized into a target audience. Barrack A, Barrack B, full stop.
Chapter 8. How crazy do you have to be to believe these kinds of stories? Is it true, or does it belong to the game? I was just in the shower to get some water. They have been doing maintenance on the water pipes, and now I am curious if it would indeed taste different. I found the water to taste very bad so far, and it often smelled like ditch water. So I was hoping that it would indeed taste different. I had also just smoked a joint, one of the bad habits I am fortunately blessed with. As I said, nothing human is alien to me. He who is without sin, that story. While looking in the mirror, I got a nice idea. For people who do not know where they can see their God, look in the mirror. Then you see the one with whom you have shared your entire life, your better half, your conscience, your own God. The one to whom you honestly tell every morning how you feel. The only one who can look you in the eye, even after a serious offense. Your reflection judges you, your conscience looks you in the face every morning. Think of the phrase, in the presence of God, your own God, the real truth. And if you stand in a certain corner and hold a mirror, you see eternity, a repetition of a moment in an everlasting, perpetual motion. A good morning chaka to put you back on earth, and you are brought back from the fantasy world to the real world. We have all been brainwashed with that one word chaka, positive boosting.
It's been a while since I wrote this, and a lot of water has flowed under the bridge since then. My life took a different turn when I realized I was losing everything. My house, I had not been paying rent for a long time because I was too busy with what I considered more important matters. In life, you often make decisions, sometimes thoughtfully and sometimes impulsively. In the period that followed, I once again had to accept that much needs to be learned to discover peace within oneself. I always say that the decisions I make in my life are never regrettable because they have taught me something, and what I, as a human being, am ultimately looking for is no more than the person I am. My God does exist, but it is myself. Here, I am putting down some text I wrote during a less pleasant phase of my life, which I now can appreciate in retrospect. First experience, then reflect. First burn your ass, then sit on the blisters. I've been speaking with many people lately who think it's a disgrace what I have done in their eyes and condemn it. Everyone has the right to give their opinion, but only do so when you know the whole story. When you can't understand someone's motives, you can't form an opinion about them. That's why people always say you have to listen, but they are so preoccupied with themselves that they forget to listen to others. Hence, so many judgments and cliches exist. Humans are still herd animals, and it will take a few more decades before a youth arises who are technologically advanced enough that they no longer need to concern themselves with production, a task for computers and robots, allowing for a different way of thinking to emerge. The current youth are still too dependent on the dogmas of religious societies and any religion. Once they are freed from this, they will realize that the individual can only flourish in a society where the group feeling allows the individual to develop and makes use of their natural talents, not the imposed scholastic talents. When a member within a group is valued, the group also reaps the benefits, whether in leadership or a role as a water carrier. Every function is important within a group, just as every cog in a machine is important. When everything within the group is open for discussion and there are no forbidden rules but only guidelines, you can speak of democracy. Every rule is meant to be broken is a mindset that has found strong foothold in the Netherlands and can also be considered a passing trend. In my opinion, it cannot be long before someone stands up and revolts against such practices. The current candidates are good, well-meaning people, but they do not have what it takes to save a country from the brink. The belief in one's own abilities is more than present. The question, however, is how long it will take before self-glorification sets in. Are they the ones doing this for themselves? And do they mean what they say? Or are they, as always, the sneaky little lies and untruths? To find a weapon against such a great monster, a bloated bureaucratic monster maintained by cronyism, crime, fraud, and incompetence, you are talking about a culture that moves on a global scale like an ever-fattening snake, can it be any clearer, is something that seems impossible. But when you take away their weapons, namely the taboo, then crime will end. There is no need for human smugglers when people are well off in their own country and modernized culture. That story about the snake and the apple is yet another piece of nonsense from that bestseller. A lot of people dislike a creature that does no more than what other animals do, namely survive. A snake does not deserve this because a snake has more decency in its body than the average, more intelligent species, humans. The annoying thing is that the writer had probably never seen a more unpleasant animal in his surroundings, because such travels were not available to a writer and fantasist at that time. They did not yet know royalties and did not pay them after Genesis Part 1. If a Dutchman had written the Bible, it might have been a cow or a rabbit. This explains many later stories. You are not supposed to write such things because, in my eyes, it goes beyond blasphemy. It crosses a line, but you need someone to look beyond that line. A new territory, another universe, perhaps my own world, where things go differently and where norms and values are different, a world with its own God, namely myself. You may think this, but you are not supposed to say it because it is also self-glorification, but I don't see it that way. A different way of thinking does not always mean that it must be a religion or an imposed way of thinking. A different opinion and way of thinking must be central to create a discussion. This is evolution. When asked who I would like to resemble, I say that I wish everyone their own, and that I would prefer to disappear into anonymity. In principle, I am already working on that. I also do not mind if the radio play does not go ahead. The story would end there because those currently working on it do not understand it either. They try, but like with everything else, if you do not know the whole story and only hear one side, your own story, and think you know two sides, I'm back at the beginning, which is that people still do not listen. I have to do it my way. A social worker was right when he said, "What are you doing here? You already know everything." When are you a good loser?
All the memories of my childhood, they will never fade away. Now I'm older, I can see they have taught me how to play.